Hi. Um, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone and kind of what you do and what's your job?
Sure. So I have kind of a weird job, but I am Dr. Shayna's Cocoon Sparling. I usually go by Dr. Sparling to my students because it's easier to say. And I'm a postdoctoral fellow, which means I'm a professional researcher, which is a pretty fun job. But one of the other things that I do or have done in the past is teach at universities. Because when you get a PhD, they let you teach at universities and it's super fun.
So, how did you end up like getting this? What was like your path of like education? Like, what was your undergrad? Do you have a PhD, a master's? Like, kind of let us know how you got here.
Yeah, I did an undergraduate degree in psychology at the University of Guelph. And
Wow.
then I took a few years off to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I decided to go and get a master's degree and a PhD in applied social psychology at the University of Windsor. And that was a pretty fun journey. Doing a PhD is a lot of work. And Yeah, so far, no regrets.
How long did that take you? Did it take you like a little bit to get your PhD and stuff like that? A few years?
Yeah, so I did a 4-year undergraduate degree and then to doing my PhD, so like including my master's degree, took me 6.5 years.
Wow, that's a
So that's
lot.
like, yeah, that's like 10 years total of like extra school after high school.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's a
Yeah.
lot of school. So, kind of talking about your students and like what it looks like. So, like a lot of kids and teachers in high school are very open about what they look for in a student. So, like, what are some main characteristics you like want to see in students or hope that students will have in university?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I really admire students who are brave and who put in their best effort. And
Yeah.
part of being brave means it means coming to me or coming to your teaching assistant to ask for help if you're not sure about something. If it means kind of like being able to put your ego aside and like come and get help and like don't just try and like stick it out. But I mean, the other piece I said about like putting in your best effort, because I also love it when students try hard. And I know I just said I like it when students come to me for help, but what I really love is when they come to me for help and I can tell that they have already tried to help themselves first. Like they've checked the syllabus, they've already looked carefully at the assignment instructions, and they still need help. So they're coming to me. It's kind of a bummer helping somebody who hasn't tried to help themselves first,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think yeah, I like my students to be brave. I like them to try hard. I like them to also be open to learning new ideas. One of my favorite classes to teach is couple and family relationships, and in that class, I teach a lot about like different ways of being a family, different ways of being in the world, and I love it when students are really open to learning about like, okay, well, like this is what getting married looks like here, but what does it look like in sub-Saharan Africa? Like it looks
Yeah.
different. And that's really fun.
That's super cool. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah. So, have you ever had like a star student or like a student like is favoritism kind of a thing you see in university sometimes?
It's hard to play favorites sometimes. Like a lot of my classes, I usually teach like 50 to 500 students when I teach.
Oh my goodness.
So for you to be a star student in my class, you really have to stand out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have had students stand out. Like I had one semester when I taught 500 students in a class, I had a student ask me for a reference letter, and I actually was able to write her a reference letter because out of my 500 students, this person stood out because I could tell that they were working hard. I recognized them from class because they always showed up in class. They sat near the front. I could tell they were paying attention. Like we can actually tell when you're sitting in class and you're actually watching Netflix or you're actually playing
Yeah.
on TV. We know, we just don't say anything most of the time. So like, yeah, like my star students, like they're the ones that I can tell they're trying hard. I can tell like they're showing up. They're maybe coming to my office hours or talking to me after class, and I can tell that they're excited about learning the material and working hard and trying hard.
Yeah, so it's like you have to make your name known. Like in high school, it's kind of everyone knows your name, but in university, it's like you have to do the effort to make your name kind of known and understood. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I know people find sometimes find that a little bit scary. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to go to university, I'm going to be a number." But like, I also know people who found that really empowering and really freeing because they were like, oh, now I don't have anyone keeping tabs on me. It's like up to me. I get to be treated like an adult. And like, if you want to, like, I care about my students doing well, but I'm never going to care as much as you're going to care. So
Yeah.
like, I'm here to facilitate. I'm like bringing the horse to water, but like, I can't make you drink. You have to do the learning.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So the next question we have for you is, what is something you kind of see in students, and like what's the best way? Because I think first year is kind of where everyone gets like the first year jitters of like, how do I figure out university? And so like, what is something you think people should definitely know when going into university? And what are some things you think people kind of forget about or don't acknowledge and like kind of have a little bit of a decrease in like their year and like don't do as well because of it?
I think every year we always tell incoming students, and I was told this too, it's university is harder than high school. And you get told this, like I remember being told this. I know where I was on campus when I was told this, and I was like, okay, fine, like whatever. But like it actually is harder because it's a different kind of learning. And like having gone through like grad school too, like I was just talking with our new grad student in our lab, and like grad school is different from undergrad, and like a postdoc is different from like it's always different. And so because it's different, it means that there's going to be new challenges for you. And so when you do poorly on a first assignment, or if you do poorly on your first midterm, doesn't mean you're dumb. It just means there's a bit of a learning curve and you're going to have to figure it out. Um, but like you're gonna figure it out. You're there. That's why you're there. You're there to like build skills. And so we don't expect you to get 100% on the first midterm. Like if you do, like, wow. But we usually have the midterm worth less than the final because we want you to have a chance to practice and build some skills and get better. But I think it's really important to remember that you're the one who's most invested in doing well in the course. So you have to get your work done. It's up to you. I think sometimes my first year students expect me to like chase them down and have them put in their assignments. And I'm like, there's 500 of you. I'm not chasing you down. I respect you as adults. Like I expect you to put it in your calendar and get your assignment in on time. So I think you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success and use your calendar like that. Like set up deadlines for when I need to get the introduction of my paper written, when I should have the middle part of my paper written, when I should have it ready to go to the writing center. That's another thing. You need to look at what resources are at your university. Use your writing center because you can go there and get people to proofread your stuff and improve your writing. Find out where the peer support networks are, because maybe you think you're going to be fine, but then you start feeling really anxious around the middle of the semester, or you miss home, or you start feeling really depressed. Peer support networks, it's like an official thing on campus. And you can get mental health support that you need, but there's also like resources to help with your schooling. And also use me and use your TAs. Like come to the office hours and ask questions. Go to your TA and talk about your assignment before it's due and talk about the assignment after it's due. Because maybe you did poorly on an assignment and you're like, oh man, I thought I did so well. I wrote this so well. And then you go and meet with the TA and the TA is like, well, actually, this is what you were supposed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, so like using every resource is a good one, right? Like just making sure you have everything that's available to you.
Yeah, because we have a lot of supports in place, and then students don't use them.
So, the next thing is kind of funny. So, like especially I'm assuming in university, there are people who don't bring their work in or have excuses for why they're late or why they're not doing it. When I know myself, I have used them before, but we're curious, like what are some of the best excuses you heard if you've noticed, or what are some of the worst, like my cat ate my homework or something?
I mean, I try to set up my assignment deadlines so that you don't necessarily need to give me an excuse. So for a lot of my assignments, if you miss the first deadline, you get a 10% penalty that applies for 5 days. So it's not like 10% per day. It's just like it gives you 5 extra days to work on your assignment so that hopefully you can get a really good grade on it and that 10% won't hurt you so bad, but it's automatic. So I'm like, don't even email me your excuse. I don't care. Just take that 10% hit and like get your assignment in and get it really good. But I definitely still have had some terrible excuses. My students know not to try the like my computer exploded excuse on me. They have tried it, but my students know I expect them to back up their work to a cloud. So don't come to me with my computer exploded. um, yeah, I know students have tried to submit like a corrupted file. We're all onto that scam. So don't try to submit a corrupted file. You're not going to get an extension. There's like lots of really good excuses for like why you might need to submit your work late or why you might need to write your exam late. And most of your professors are going to be experienced enough to know that students who like honestly need an extension, they benefit from it. But the students who are just like bad at being organized and they're lying to get an extension, like I can give you the extension, but like it's usually doesn't help those kinds of students turn in good quality work. So we're pretty good about giving students extensions as long as your excuse isn't like totally out there. But yeah, like if you actually needed the extension, I'm so happy to give you the extension. And if you didn't need it and it's really more about you are bad at being organized, then I will give you the extension anyway, and we'll see if you can still get a good grade. I would love all my students to get good grades, but
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, so I also wanted to talk to you about the differences between university and college, because I know like right now we just had a whole assembly in school about the different paths you can take coming out of like secondary school. So like what's your main difference, do you think, choosing university over college? Like why should people maybe choose one path over the other?
I don't know. This is a very tough question. I was thinking about it a lot. Um, because I didn't go to college, I went to university. So
Yeah.
I know that if you want to pick up a trade, if you want to have a marketable skill and go to work right away, there's a lot of college courses that can set you up really well for that. And there's some university programs that set you up really well for that, like engineers get a job right away, vets get a job right away, landscape architecture gets a job right away, computer science gets a job right away. Somebody like me who picked psychology, brace yourself for 10 years of school before you maybe get a job.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So,
It depends on like what you kind of want to do with your life.
yeah. I feel like, yeah, it's very different to like towards the person too, as you stated, like what they plan on doing. I think university can be broader, like you said, like you can kind of change your mind going into like second year if you don't like what you're studying first year. So like I think that's something that I know, but I'm not a professional or anything like that. So something else I want to talk to you about, I'm going to kind of mix some things together. So when a relationship with you, like a professor, do you expect students to like make the effort to get to know you, or do you hope that students will get to know you, or you can get to know them? Like, do you want to be closer with your students, or do you think you have a good relationship as like professor and students as it is?
I think that um, it depends on the student and it depends on the class. So like when I teach first year students, when I teach like my 500 student first year level classes, it's hard to have a good relationship with individual students because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
But it's happened because like the students that chat with me after class, the students that show up to my office hours, we're able to build like a collegial relationship. I've had students who come and like talk to me at the break every time, and they want to talk about like what I just lectured on, and that's really fun and I love that. But to really like have more of a relationship with students and kind of get closer with them, usually that comes from them working with me and like working with me in my lab. And so like I would definitely suggest like if you want to have like more of a relationship with your more of a professional relationship, obviously with your professors, you want to maybe you like their class and you think they seem pretty cool. Look them up on their professional website, look them up on the university website. Maybe they also do research that you think is really cool. And then you can go and you can talk to them about maybe do they have any openings in their lab? Do they have a journal club that you can join? And then that kind of gives you more opportunities to hang out and talk and develop your skill set and get ready for if you want to go to grad school.
Follow that path.
Yeah.
Well, something else is well, yeah, so online is obviously a big thing this year, COVID. And so I'm assuming, I know my mom is like a college teacher and she's been teaching some courses online. So I'm assuming you've been teaching some courses online as well. How's that been going? Been going pretty good?
I've been really lucky and I haven't had to teach anything online, just a few
Really?
workshops and guest lectures.
Wow.
'Cause my position's mostly research oriented now, so I don't get to do as much teaching as I used to, which I kind of miss. But I definitely have been doing like I have friends that are professors and they'll have me drop in for guest lectures, and it is I've had like such a mix. Like it is like a little strange showing up to teach, and it's like 50 black squares, and you're like, okay, I hope people are listening. But then I've also had courses that I drop in to teach, and like everybody has their video on, and I can see them like nodding, and the people seem really engaged. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yes.
But it is definitely a bummer teaching to like a sea of black squares. But I also get why people want to have their camera off because like maybe I'm like folding laundry while I'm in class and like that's fine. Like maybe I'm like eating breakfast and I don't want to distract people. Like I get it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know that like high school, you will see no one. Like, it's like you'll go online for like 1 week after being in school for the whole term, and it's like, I know what you all look like, but we're all hiding behind this like screen for some reason. I don't know.
It means you don't have to have a shower if you don't have your screen.
I know, it's like I'm in bed. I'm sleeping. Okay, so we're going to play like a quick little game of like myth and fact of like we actually like created this as like what people assume about university and professors, and like maybe you can debunk some of these myths if you know. So the first one is myth or fact. Professors don't like to have one-on-one sessions with students.
It depends on the professor, but most of us love it. Come to our one-on-one office hours. We like set up office hours and then sit by ourselves and do our work because nobody shows up.
I mean, we want people. Okay.
Yeah, I set up office hours for a reason. Come to my office hours.
Love that. Okay. So we control the schedule. So like teachers control the schedule, like when the finals are, when the classes are, and like the times that they happen during the day.
Oh God, I wish I would pick way better schedules, but that's set up by the university senate. I don't have control over the timetable for my own courses at all. I don't pick the class time. I don't pick the class day. I don't pick how long class lasts. I don't get to pick when the final exam is. That is all decided in advance. They're like, "Hi, welcome, Dr. Sparling. Here's your course. This is the
Yeah.
day and time. Doesn't matter if you're not an early bird and you'd rather not have an 8 a.m. class. Too bad. We decided you have an 8 a.m. class and your final's going to be on the worst day possible."
That's amazing. Like my mom, I know that's the same for college too, because she's so mad about the schedule she has this term. And she's like, if I have to go in school with this term, I'm not going to be happy. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, we have no control. And I know your uncle Brandon he's teaching 2 classes this semester, and his students always complain about the class being at 8:30 in the morning. And he's like, I don't want it to be at 8:30 either. Like, sorry.
Like, what do you want me to do here, guys? Like, I don't like it. Okay, the next one, myth or fact. Teachers like students who ask questions.
This one is like a yes, but. So
Okay.
like I love it when students ask a clarification question because I'm up here talking. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. So if a student raises their hand and they're like, wait, I don't know, what did you just say? Like, I love that because if you have a question, if you didn't understand something, like you're not the only one. I guarantee you, like half the class didn't understand what I said either. So like, I love it when students ask questions, but it's important to really be respectful of your classmates in class time. So occasionally I've had students who like are like really chatty and they're really into the material, which is awesome. But then they want to ask a lot of questions and kind of take us off track, and it can kind of dominate class time. Like, I mean, I've been a student in classes where somebody raises their hand and you're like, oh no, like now we're gonna look late.
Here we go again.
Yeah, but like when I teach upper year level classes, that's fine because we're in a 3-hour seminar, and if we want to go off on this tangent and have a deep dive conversation, like that's awesome. But when I'm teaching like a 200 student undergrad intro psych class, it's like not the time to have a 20-minute conversation about something.
That's one thing that I'm talking about. So the next one is, do teachers allow, we kind of talked about this, but do teachers allow extensions on projects?
Yeah, we do, but I mean, usually you have to have some kind of reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually you can get extensions on things, and hopefully it works out and helps you, and hopefully you really needed it because something crazy happened, but something unexpected. I mean, this is one of the things I was told in undergrad is like they looked out at all of us in the auditorium and they were like, half of you are going to have a grandparent die while you're in university. And I was like, what? No. And then I actually did have a grandmother die during university too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, it's funny because I thought of that. I was like, oh, they did tell me, they did warn me.
They
So
did say that was going to
like
happen.
things are going to come up in your life and that you're going to need an extension. Like your dog died or something, you're going to need to go home. Like,
Yeah.
or you got terribly, terribly sick, like you got COVID. Like, okay, you're gonna
Yeah,
need an
like things happen.
yeah.
So the next one is myth or fact. Teachers care if you skip class.
I don't care if you skip class, and most of us don't care. Unless I'm teaching a really small class. One time I taught a class with just 12 students in it. And I was like, please do try and come to class because if half of you skip class, it'll just be six of us in here and it'll feel really empty. But I mean, like, your learning's up to you. I can't make you learn anything. I can't make you come to class. So, like, really, if you don't want to be there, like, okay,
It's like your fault, whatever.
it's up to you, man.
Um, so the next one is, well, it's not really, it's more of a question. It's like, how do teachers really spend their summer vacation? Like, do they do work over the summer or do they spend it off and have some like quality family time or whatever?
Nope, we are really bad at that. We just do our work.
Yeah.
Every university professor I know looks forward to the summer because it means they're going to be doing less teaching. And now this is the time when they catch up on their research. They're usually supervising students. They have like undergraduate and graduate students in their lab. Everybody's trying to get research done. Usually people take a week or two off in July or August, but otherwise it's just working all summer. And it's the same in grad school. In grad school, you don't have a summer vacation.
That's definitely a myth then, because everyone's like, oh, teachers get all the summer off and they get to frolic around.
Oh man, maybe your high school teachers, but even your high school teachers are getting ready for the next year. But no, your university professors,
they work, man.
Campus, they are working. That's when they're their work that wins them grants and
yeah. So another thing is that like learning styles is like a big thing now. Like you can be a visual learner, like an auditory, like there's a bunch of different ones now. So do university teachers kind of take into consideration about different learning styles, or it's more like you have to adjust for yourself?
It depends on the professor.
Yeah.
But overall, there's not any research supporting that learning styles are really a thing. So a lot of the professors that are kind of like on top of their teaching pedagogy, their like study of teaching and learning, they're just like learning styles aren't a thing. We're not, we're not doing it. But also consider that in my 200 or 500 student class, even if learning styles were a thing, how could I possibly accommodate everyone? So I try to have like a variety of things available. And so like if people have learning preferences, like you can like make sure you're taking good notes in lecture and like learn from your notes if you need visual things, if you need to like see stuff written down. But it's impossible to accommodate everybody.
Yeah, that'd be pretty hard with a class of 500 and you're like, okay, what is everyone's learning style?
Yeah.
So another thing is that I've actually wondered this a lot, is that do teachers in university expect a much higher quality of work than teachers in like high school? So is there like a bigger expectation for like how well your essay's written, when in high school you could get like an 80, but in university you could get like a 70 or a 50 or something?
I think there is a higher expectation, and partly it's because the people who are grading your assignments, they're used to seeing higher level work. And so that kind of means we have higher expectations, but we also expect more autonomy, right? Like we expect you to like kind of get there, but also we don't expect you to be writing like super fantastic, amazing essays right from the start. So we usually try to give you like really thorough instructions of like what you need to include. but yeah, like we do expect like a little more, probably a little more quality. Probably, I mean, a lot of the people doing your grading is teaching assistants and they're grad students. And so they know what's expected of them.
Oh
And
wow.
so sometimes they're really generous because they're like, oh, well, like this is a first year student, like they don't know. But sometimes they'll like, it really depends on who's grading your assignment. And
Yeah.
it depends on who you're being graded with. Like, you probably don't want to know this, but like a lot of grading is really subjective. And so like if you're in a pile with a bunch of people who like really didn't do a great job on the assignment, you might get a higher grade than if you're in a pile with a bunch of students who like
Yeah.
really aced the assignment. And that kind of sucks. But I mean, that's how it goes with how my grants are judged too.
Yeah.
If I'm in a pile with a lot of really competitive grants, my grant application gets rated lower. So
Yeah.
that's just how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's just good in high school too. Like you could, like you get this one exemplar like essay, and then the rest of them are like nothing compared to it, and you can't really like live up to that.
I try not to let it bias me so that more people can have a good shot though.
Yeah. Yes, of course, but so the next one is it rude, sorry, to email on the weekend? So like, would you not like it if someone were to email you on a Saturday?
Oh man, email me anytime you want. Email me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Email me on Saturday at 8 o'clock. I don't care. That what the thing is, don't expect me to reply right away.
Yes.
So if you email me at 3 o'clock, like don't expect an email back. If you email me on Saturday afternoon, like I will email you on Monday.
Yeah.
But definitely send the email. Go right ahead and send the email.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just most of us will tell students what our email policy is, and we'll just say like you can email me in the middle of the night. You can email me on the weekend, but I reply to emails between this time and this time and this day and this day.
Yeah, so it's like you can email me at 2 a.m., but I will not be responding to you at 3 a.m. Like it's not, I wait for your
Yeah.
email all night.
And I have had students who email me at like midnight and then they're furious I haven't replied. And I'm like, I'm not a robot. I had to sleep and eat dinner and do things.
I am sleeping currently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so the next one is if a student is failing or not doing well, will like a university teacher reach out and give them extra work or to maybe help build their credit? Or is it kind of like work harder on your next assignments to like boost that mark?
So a lot of people don't realize this, but the syllabus that we give you, the like course outline, that's actually a contract and I can't make changes to it later. So I can't add bonus assignments without the whole class agreeing to it. So if just you were doing poorly in my class, I couldn't be like, oh, well, JC, I'll help you out. Like, here, you can do this extra assignment. I would have to offer that extra assignment to everybody. I'd have to like get everybody to sign off on me changing the syllabus. And you might have classmates who are like, what? I don't want an extra assignment. Get out of here. So most like we can't give bonus assignments.
Yeah.
A lot of students ask, they're like, oh, can I do extra credit? If there's extra credit opportunities, I've already put them in the syllabus. And I try to give extra credit opportunities. Usually they're in the form of like, you can participate in a research study, or you can write a short essay about the topic that the research study is on if you don't want to participate in the study.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we can't set up bonus assignments.
Yeah.
Plus, who's going to grade them? The TAs have a contract, and the TAs can only be contracted for a certain number of hours, and their contract has to be set up at the beginning of the semester.
Yeah.
So if I start adding extra assignments, the TAs are like, "What the heck?"
Like this isn't my contract. Like I didn't sign up for this.
Exactly.
So, Rate My Professor is something that's I think newer maybe, but I know my mom is on it and she gets some pretty funny ones. I'm just wondering, do you look at those Rate My Professor comments if you have it? I'm not sure.
So we try not to look at it because it's
Really?
really kind of a bummer. Like if you think about like who rates restaurants, like
Yes.
usually people rate a restaurant because they had a terrible experience, or maybe some people rate it because they had an amazing experience, but mostly like you go and give a rating for something because you hated it. And there's like a lot of problems with like the ratings being really biased because of like racism and sexism. So it's not usually like the kind of feedback that we get on Rate My Professors.
Yeah.
It's not usually something useful that I can use to make my courses better. And like that's the kind of feedback that I actually want. But your university does do teaching evaluations. at the
Right.
end of every, like close to the end of every semester. And like usually those are a little bit more useful. Like that's what we're looking for from students on those teaching evaluations is, can you give me constructive feedback? Like, what did I do this semester that was really awesome and worked really well for you? Like what could be done that would be better, that's actually within my power? Because I can't change the class time, remember? And there's a lot of things that are like very rigid.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of problems with bias in those ratings still, but like they usually tend to be more useful. Right, my professor doesn't usually give me a lot of feedback I can use to like actually make my
Yeah.
courses better. And
Well,
also like I have friends who like it makes them cry, like they get some really mean reviews.
that is wow, did not know that. Um, oh my gosh. So the next one is the very last one, actually. Myth or fact? What is your joking policy? Are people allowed to joke around and have like a maybe a laugh thing where laugh carries the whole room? So like what's your kind of take on that?
um I'm totally open to it as long as it's like appropriate, doesn't disrupt the class. This sounds terrible. It sounds like I'm not in favor of it. Doesn't disrupt the class too much. Like we can't be
Don't disturb
joking
my
all the time.
class.
But like I definitely like I crack a lot of jokes in class, but like it's important to like it's, we don't want to be punching down, like it shouldn't be at somebody's expense, but like yeah, I mean I'm fine with some joking around in class as long as we're not like losing too much class time to it, because I only get to see my students for a certain amount of time and I have to get through a
Please.
bunch of material. But yeah, like it shouldn't be just like dry me standing at the front boring everybody to death for 2 hours. It should be, we should have some interaction. If people want to say something funny that's not like super gross or inappropriate, fine.
That's gonna take 3 hours to get over, but
Yeah.
I know high school teachers have a problem with that. It's like the whole time there's one joke and no one can get over it. So I'm, I know that. So thank you so much for
Well,
we're allowing us to have you on. Do you have anything else you want to say, just as a closing remark to today?
oh my gosh.
I
I
know
guess
it's a big thing.
yeah, I mean, I said a lot of things, but yeah, like I hope that students will come to university and like not be scared and will use the resources, and will also understand that like I'm not here to make you learn, you're here to make you learn. I'm just here to try and help you. And like that's a good thing. That's how it should be. Like you should be learning because you want to learn. And yeah, like we're all partners working together.
Well, thank you so much again.